So we all know, like, just some of this stuff is easy. You can't fit, social media only gives you X amount of words for a post or a tweet, a caption. You only get X amount of words. And so we all try to sit there and be as clever as we can in however many words or less. And we know that's not real life, at least most of us. You can't fit most things into a box and go, I can totally explain this entire situation in 90 words or less, X amount of captions or less. Last night, the Chiefs-Chargers game was a perfect example of why the Chiefs are single-handedly, they might be the best team in the NFL, but they are easily the most frustrating to watch. Listen, there's people on TV, and they need to really give me an answer on this. I've seen this narrative pop up the last few weeks about the Chiefs, which is clearly they're better than everyone. Clearly they're the best team in the league, and clearly they just know how to win, and that upsets other fan bases. And while these individual statements could be true in a tweet or a caption, they're not true if you take the big picture. Because I would ask them, if they're clearly better than everybody, why are you tied with the Carolina Panthers just 3 weeks ago? With a minute to go, need a game-winning field goal. Why do you need the Raiders to muff a punt or muff a snap to beat them on Black Friday? If you're so much better than everybody, why do you need this last minute blocked field goal to beat the Denver Broncos? You're just clearly better than everybody. And then it crescendoed last night. They just better than everybody. They know how to win. That's been the other thing. They know how to win. They just win games. Mahomes, Reed, it's what they do. So last night, they win the game, doinked field goal goes in. So you're telling me then, they know how to win so well that they decided their kicker should kick the ball and be so off from actually making the field goal to let it doink in? That's knowing how to win? That's just being better than the other team? Now, this is why I say it's frustrating. It's frustrating if you watch the NFL, you watch the Chiefs, and realistically, if I was a Chiefs fan, I would be frustrated. Hell, their quarterback is. And that's because you saw both sides of the Chiefs. And in a tweet or a caption, we can't quite get the whole message out. But this is the message of the Kansas City Chiefs. They are lucky. They do get and have received the benefit of multiple situations this year that have been exceptionally fortunate in their favor. They are also clearly at any given moment the best team in the NFL. The last two plays of last night's game was the perfect example of what the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs are. Third down, Mahomes, misdirection, which is part of the unique play calling of Andy Reid, the best play caller in the NFL. You got Mahomes running around, extending the play, and him shaking off a would-be tackler, avoiding a sack, and throwing to Travis Kelce. That is what Mahomes has been more famous for than any other thing. You don't really need to see stats for Mahomes to prove his brilliance. You don't really need numbers to prove his brilliance. You don't even need accomplishments. The amount of times in a game since the start of his career that he's made that kind of play. Make someone miss, extend the play, find the open receiver, most times Travis Kelce, and just breaks the other team will on third down. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the best team in the NFL. Because in these close games, they know how to win. You know what that doesn't look like? That doesn't look like botched snap against the Raiders. That doesn't look like blocked field goal against the Broncos. That doesn't look like tied with Carolina with a minute to go. That doesn't look like last night with a doinked kick. Yes, if I just need to make a video or I need to make a post or I need to make a tweet or I need to prove a point, yeah, the Chiefs are just lucky. Trust me, I'm Chiefs hater number one. I've said it a bunch. But the reality is last night, what we saw were both aspects of what makes the Chiefs dangerous. They have been, and on the right side of a bunch of lucky / Variance is a word I use a lot lately. They've been on the good they've been on the good side of variance during this stretch. They are also, at any given time, between the best quarterback in football, the best play caller in football, and a tight end who's no longer in his prime but still has chemistry of a relationship that used to be the best in football. They can do that on third down. How do they get the benefit of the doubt? Yes, they 1,000% have this year, and more so, especially consecutively, than any team in recent memory. They can also snatch your soul on third down, which is what Mahomes has been most famous and his biggest accomplishments throughout his career in an individual game. That's what makes the Chiefs dangerous. And what makes this team, if we just want to be honest, maybe they are going to go down as the luckiest Super Bowl champion of all time. But guess what that means? They'd be the Super Bowl champion. The reality with this year's Kansas City Chiefs is they might just have both. They might be the luckiest team ever, or in the running or conversation for it. They also have that. This is the first time I've looked at the Chiefs, that play specifically, against a division rival who knows you and plays you close, another great head coach, another great defense. Those are the things that you're going to want and need to beat the Chiefs come the playoffs. You're going to want someone like Jim Harbaugh. You're going to want a top 5 defense like the Chargers. And you're going to want another guy who, we're going to talk about him a little bit later, but a guy in Justin Herbert whose talent is 1,000% top 5 worthy. Those are all the things you want against Kansas City. You want the pass rush. You want to keep hitting Mahomes. You want the other star. You want a star quarterback of your own to compete with him. You want a great defense to compete with theirs. And all that being said, when it came down to it, the Chiefs got the best of both worlds. They got the brilliant play call with their best players, and they got the luck of the bounce on the field goal. That's who the Chiefs are. Potentially the luckiest Super Bowl winner of my lifetime. But that means you're still the Super Bowl winner. Let's move on from Kansas City to kids or parents out there. If you are watching, you are listening, don't waste time with the basketball. Don't waste time trying to go have your kid play football. Too many injuries, too much stuff going on. Teach your kid to either hit or throw a baseball. Juan Soto signs 15 years, $760 million, the largest contract in professional sports with the New York Mets. 15 years, $760 million. Now, we're going to talk with Tony about this a little bit later, but this is insane to me. Not just for the fact of, is it too much money to give an athlete? No, because the Mets are going to make this money back with jersey sales, ticket sales, just general media attention that also leads to sales. They're gonna make their money back. And Steve Cohen's the second richest owner in all of sports, so he's not really worried about that. This really, what it teaches you is, A, we have established a new bar. Remember when Mike Trout signed for $400 million? But there was a separation, like the next couple of guys, once you could call it a unicorn case or a special case, and that was Mike Trout. Mike Trout signed for $420 million, and everybody else that signed the next couple of years, because we knew they weren't Mike Trout, they signed between 300, 310, 320, 315, like they were all considerably lower, like $100 million off. Then we started to build closer and closer, and that's because we had established Mike Trout was the unicorn. Mike Trout was the only guy supposed to get $400 million. And I thought the same thing about Ohtani, because when he signed for $700 million, I said, holy shit, that's a lot of money, but it's Ohtani. He's basically 2 players. He's a unicorn. This isn't going to happen. And then just one offseason later, first chance we get at another premier free agent, $700 million. When I've been talking about, and this is good for baseball, when I've been talking about how baseball's decline, and also, I've been fair, also their resurgence, I think it is coinciding with the NBA's downfall, and contracts like this are going to have people excited. Contracts like this are how you get kids, younger people to be more invested in the sport. It's less physically taxing than playing in the NBA. Again, You got 4 at-bats. You're Juan Soto. You're an outfielder. Like, it feels like, and again, I'm not trying to dismiss baseball players or the athletes that they are, but it feels to the common man a little bit less than what having to run 35, 40 minutes in an NBA game, or obviously the contact that comes with playing professional football. Also, the security. Yes, there's no deferred money currently on Juan Soto's contract, but there's absolutely a chance for deferred money to eventually take into account. He's also got an opt-out after 5 years, which he'll be 31, and he might sign for another $500, $600, $700 million deal. And with deferred money, I think is interesting because there's always been this notion around athletes that they spend too much money, they go broke. With deferred money, it's really hard to go broke, even if you go crazy in your first couple of years. Because you make this $15, $20, $30 million income a decade and a half after you've left the game with the money is now. We all know Bobby Bonilla's contract, $1 million a year. He's gotten that forever. But now these guys, like Max Scherzer's deferment is like between 10 to 15 million. Ohtani's deferment is going to be 20 to 30 million. And some of that is for tax reasons. But I get back-to-back off seasons, $700+ million prime free agent. World Series just hit its high for the last decade. There's more. Again, baseball's always had talent. That's never been baseball's issue. But now the marketing that's coming along with some of these bigger market teams, what the Mets are doing, what the Yankees are doing, what the Dodgers are doing. I said this last week. The NBA is now closer to Major League Baseball than it is the NFL. And I thought that would have been ludicrous a handful of years ago. And I didn't know if we were ever going to close that gap in that direction ever again. But I've got more money coming in. I've got more talent coming in. I've got more eyes on the game. This Juan Soto contract, I know this is supposed to be for the Mets, and this is for their fan base, and this is their moment. This, to me, is a moment for everyone in baseball to celebrate. This is a moment for everyone that's a part of or a fan of Major League Baseball to go, we're coming. And again, we're going to talk with Tony about this in a little bit in regards to, does he deserve this money? What's the projections? All that kind of stuff. But the day of celebrating, 15 years, $760 million for Juan Soto. This is not only a victory for him, not only a victory for the Mets, this is a victory for Major League Baseball.